Yeah, sorry. What? Yes. Hold on. Let me start. We're live. Hey, boys and girls. It's Dave Brown here with jamplay.com. Hopefully that wasn't too loud for the mic. Welcome. It is week 2 of Jam of the Week. We're starting a little late today just because we're doing this live. So appreciate you hanging out with me here in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, or wherever you are. Thanks again to Jamplay for getting this going. It's pretty sweet. So today we're going to talk about a 2-chord reggae jam. For those of you who are just joining the course, it's pretty straightforward. The whole idea is that we're just taking on a new progression each week, just like, I don't know, let's say the real world still existed and you got together with your friends and you wanted to play some tunes. What would you do? Let me make sure I get this back too. What would you do? How would you go about that? You got a new tune, you got a new progression. How do you make music out of that? So we're going to talk about that this week and a whole bunch of other weeks. The vocal mic is hot. My apologies. So, all right, I just turned down the gain a little bit. Sorry, we're doing this live. Did I mention that? Hopefully that helps. Let me know if anything else I can do. I know I get a little excited. I started yelling at it, but it fell off. No wonder. It's probably rubbing against it. Maybe that's better. Anyway, not amateur hour whatsoever. Hold up. Okay, we're good. So today's jam is 2 chords, like I mentioned. It's a G chord and an A minor. So essentially, it's 2 bars each. It's pretty straightforward. It's like a 1 chord and a 2 chord in the key of G. And so your basic options, if you were to just kind of play over that backing track, would be just like an open G chord, and I'll just demo this really quick. If we're already up and running on the tab, this is the very first line there. Again, if you were to just play whole notes, tab is up. I guess I don't need to say that out loud. You play G chord for 2 bars. There's 2 bars right there. Then you play A minor twice. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you were the beginner in the group and you're just tagging along with your buddies who know how to jam, this is essentially the most basic thing you could do with this, which doesn't suck if you're trying to just practice switching chords. You can get it a little busier, and like we'll demo in a second, but that's the whole progression. So it's pretty straightforward. We are going to go to rhythm option number 1 now, because I think we just mastered that last thing we just did. Yeah, we did. So taking those same chords, exact same concept that we just did, but now we're going to put a little more strumming into the mix. So if you're taking a look at rhythm option number 1, basically you have a G chord. It's split up. There's a whole bunch of numbers on the tab, but really your left hand's just holding a G chord the whole time, and your right hand is, making some moves. Not an official term, technical term, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, so you're going to play the root first. That's step 1. Then you're going to go up on the full chord. So it's 1, 2, 3. And then you're basically going to hold off to beat 4. So like let's simplify this first measure really quick. Instead of worrying about the of 3, we're just going to do 4 yanda. And notice on the downbeat of 4, the chord's a little more full, because you're basically trying to emphasize the downbeats when you're playing. So for instance, it's going to go, like if you were to ignore the of 3, you could kind of just simplify it and go 1 and 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2. And so what I'm doing is I'm not worried about, if you notice, like I beat 4, or the rest of beat 4, I should say, doesn't have anything on the 6th or the 5th string. And that's, again, by design, you're just trying to play a little less so that the downbeat of 4 is even that much more dramatic. But it doesn't have to be perfect. You can totally, you're basically going for an upstroke and then kind of not following all the way through. You're just kind of going up. So if you happen to hit 3 strings or 4 strings, not the end of the world. Okay, so That's the first half there. Here, I should probably keep this on here. Just cool. So it's gonna go. If you the simplified version would be 1 and 2, 3, 4 and a 1 and 2, 3, 4 and a 1, 2, 3, 4 and a 1, 2, 3. So that's your basic option. Gonna make it a little busier in bar number 2, but before we get there, let's add that last upstroke in going into B4. So the of 3. So instead of going 4 yana, you can go up 4 yana. So up down up down up. So it's like 1 and 2, and you can do a down strum on the and of 1 there. That's not a big deal either way. 1 and 1 and 2, 3, up 4 yana, 1 and 2, 3, up 4 yana, 1 and 2, 3, 4 yana, 1. So I missed the other. It's slightly different. Basically the same thing, totally interchangeable. Some is just more, some is a little less. So next measure is basically going to do the exact same thing, but it's going to start on the of 2. So you're going to get a full 3 and beats 3 and 4, I should say. Beats 3 and 4 are going to be completely nonstop 16 notes, but with emphasis on the downbeat. So it's going to go a 3 and a 4 and a. So it's like 1 and 2, a 3 and a 4 and a 2, a 3 and a 4 and a. And so what that does is it kind of gives you a little A-B, so that you're not doing the whole thing, you know, you're not just going strong the whole time, and there's a little bit of a little breath in there. So both measures 1 and 2 together we go 1 and 2, 3, a 4 and a 1 and 2, a 3 and a 4 and a. And what that does is you're about to change chords on bar 3. So by adding more strumming, you're creating more tension, which drives more motion, which makes the release on bar 3 into A minor that much more stronger. And then likewise, bar 4 will then lead back into bar 1. So that's kind of the concept of why you might want to change up the strum pattern, even within just a 2-bar phrase. So let's hear it all together, and then we'll play it along with the track. So it's going to go 1 and 2, 3, a 4 and a 1 and 2, a 3 and a 4, and then A minor. I didn't even explain A minor. Jumping the gun. A minor is exactly the same, except you're just playing the 5th string for the root, because that's the root of the A minor instead, but everything else on the right hand is still the same. So it's 1, 2, 3, a 4 and a 1 and 2, a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and 2, 3, a 4 and a 1 and 2, 3, a 4 and a 1 and 2, 3, a 4 and a 1 and 2, a 3 and a 1. One more time. 2, 3, a 4 and a 1 and 2, a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and 2, 3, a 4 and a 1 and 2, a 3 and a 4 and a. Sweet. Okay, so let's try it along with the track. So it's a 3-minute track. I might stop us 2 minutes in, because we don't necessarily need to go that long. If we have some more time, we'll come back and we'll run things. A 3rd, 4th, 5th, maybe 12th time. Probably 3 or 4 though. Here we go. You'll hear 8 clicks up front. 1, 2. Here we go. So it's 1, 2, 3. I kept messing up because, you know, I got a lot on my mind. There's a lot going on. No, I'm not gonna make excuses. I'm just kind of just playing along with it. I promise I'll do it better next time. But it just kind of goes to show you that you can kind of just do what you want. Like, you know, if you're playing along with somebody and somebody plays something, like it might, even though you planned on doing that one thing at that one moment, you might want to, you know, step it up with more strumming or step back because they're playing a lot of stuff and you don't want to make it too busy. These are all reasons that I can use as an excuse of why I just messed up. But, you know, I'll do it better this time. You know, again, like conceptually, it kind of makes sense. Another option that I was doing frequently was the first three measures were the same thing, and then the last one was the busy one. And so that's just another option of like how you can kind of change that up. I forgot to mention, if you have any questions at any point, feel free to shoot them over to Jason. He's manning the helm, and then he'll shoot it over to me on Skype, and we'll get that taken care of. I believe we're going to hold off on questions till, he said 40 minutes in. That makes way more sense because we started at 40. It's a little different tonight, so I got to remember we're going to 9:40 Eastern Standard. Bueno. Okay, so let's take another shot. We'll do it for another 2 minutes, and then this time will be a little better. I forgot to mention in the beginning, those of you who are just joining us this week, this is the simple version. What we're doing is we're taking on different layers of different difficulty. So that we're about to go over something a little more intensive, triad inversions in a second. Same concept, just a reggae chunk. And then, you know, there's the lead option that you're hearing on the track. We'll go over that in a second. And I wrote out a lick that spans the 4 bars. So there's some stuff to kind of work with for all levels. So please stick around if you're chilling. Make sure you grab your guitar, have fun with us. And again, field those questions over to Jason. Jamplay.com. Thanks. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sweet. I guess I could work on my fade out skills, but nope. Great. That's if you're playing open chords. What if you wanted to play bar chords? You can do the exact same thing with bar chords. We're going to play it one more time actually with bar chords now. Generally speaking, when playing reggae or something of this nature, I'd probably recommend bar chords. That's just like, you don't know bar chords, you're just playing some basic open chords, you can do that. But if you know some bar chords, you just have much more control over the dynamics, how you're gripping the chords, all that fun stuff. So if we were to play G and A minor, two good options would be off that exact same note. You could do the E-shaped bar chord. And since it's a 2 chord, your closest option is always going to be the same shape, just up a whole step. So you're going to go up a whole step, but take your middle finger off because the 2 chord's minor. Okay? So we're going to play that exact same thing. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3. But you know exactly what's written instead of just my in the moment interpretation. Let me make sure we don't have anything that I'm supposed to be paying attention to. We're still good, guys. Still good. We're going to give it another go, another 2 minutes, but now with the bar chords. Likewise, if you know your A shapes, you can go all the way up to the 10th fret on the 5th string. I'm assuming you knew how to make those. I'm not going to go over the fingerings, but since I'm here, index finger on the 5th string, 10th fret. Ring finger straight across the 12th fret on strings 4, 3, and 2. And then if you were to go minor, it'd be like an A minor shape. So bar on your 1st finger on the 12th fret, ring finger on the 14th fret of the 4th string, pinky on the 14th fret of the 3rd string, and then middle finger on that 12th. We're going to reduce these to just triads in a minute. It gets a little scrunched up there, so I would stick with these. And if you're not comfortable with bar chords, guess what? You can play those open chords along with these bar chords, and it'll sound the same. So you might as well do that, so you're not just twiddling your thumbs while we play this 3rd round of just chords. Rhythm option number 1. 1, 2 with bar chords. Leave more space there. Just feels a little more natural. But I'll do it right. Sometimes I'll do it right. You know what? I'm getting sick of the chords. You get the idea. If you want to practice along, you can go back. You can watch this again. We're streaming on Facebook. We're streaming on YouTube. There's probably another internet service I haven't heard of before that you're just living under a rock. That's also going on. It's also going on jamplay.com. So speaking of which, if you don't know about jamplay.com, for minimal dollars, you could have access to thousands upon thousands of hours of high quality 4K video for the most part, pretty much across the board, except when they filmed before there was 4K, but that was HD back then too. Anything you want to learn, pretty cheap for the entire year subscription. I've even taught courses there before. You can hang out with me without hanging out with me, but just in case, what am I talking about? Anyway, we're gonna move on in a second. This is week 2 of Jam Play's Jam of the Week, and got another course going for beginners, fundamentals, just practicing basics to get you strong on Tuesdays, and this course is every Thursday. Hey, let's move on, shall we? We're gonna take those chords that we just did. Okay, just gonna make sure I don't have to talk to anybody. Yep. Okay. Rhythm option number 2, which is actually going to be 3 different layers. So we'll go through all of them really quick, but we'll practice them all against the track straight through. So basically what triads are just like mini versions of bar chords. It's just 3 notes. It only takes you can make a chord with 2 notes, but a triad, a major chord, and a minor chord technically take 3. So instead of playing this big old bar chord version, we're just going to grab those top 3 strings. So index is barring the first and second string on the 3rd fret, middle finger is grabbing that 4th fret on the 3rd string, and then when we go up to the minor chord, the 2 chord, all you have to do is bar your first finger across the 5th fret on strings 3, 2, and 1. You could also stay right where you are and use your ring finger, you know, if you're feeling lazy, because it's efficient. It's not lazy, it's efficient. Remember that. So, yeah, that's your first option. And what we're going to do is known as the reggae strum. We call it a reggae skank. A couple other terms for it, but basically it's just a chunk. And it's all on the offbeat. But here's the thing. So normally when you're strumming 8th notes, you're going down on the number and up on the and. So a lot of people think because it's on the offbeat, you have to do an up strum. But actually, the down strum has a better tone for something like this. You know, there's hundreds of hours of footage of different reggae players playing. You know, definitely see Marley doing downstrokes. It just has a better sound. So we're just going to do downstrokes on the offbeat. So it's going to go, you know, if you're tapping your foot, which is a little contradictive because your foot's going to go down and your right hand is going to go up. What? I just said that backwards. Foot's going to go up, right hand's going to go down. So they're going to be going at each other. So if you're trying to rock back and forth, it'll feel a little weird, but it's worth it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So notice they're not 1 and 2 and 3. There's mutes in between. You gotta mute it. So it's all about left hand, just relaxing your left hand so that you can get at that. So it's like 1, 2, 3. And notice I have a little bit of delay going. I didn't set it up for this because I was lazy, but it happened to work out that it's basically a triplet. That's a very reggae thing to have 3 or dotted 8th note. Or a dotted quarter note. If you have a delay pedal and you set it to tap tempo, you can set it to a dotted quarter or dotted 8, and it just gives this like dub feeling, like ga 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 ga. 3/2. That's what's up. So anyway, you're just muting in between. You're going 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. That's it. It's really easy, and it's actually better. The stuff that we were doing before is like, you know, it's more of like a faux reggae thing, like a Jack Johnson thing almost, or, you know, something along those lines where, you know, it's island feel, but it's, you know, reggae is really about that skank. So it's you're gonna want that in there, and it's less cluttersome. You know, what I loved, you know, watching like, you know, old school Marley videos or whatever. Is there's like 12 people on stage, but it's not cluttered at all. Like everybody has like their little niche thing, and together it makes a mosaic. So it's all about not stepping on toes, and triads on the top 3 strings for reggae, or even the strings 2, 3, and 4 are pretty ideal. So that's the first option. These are known as first inversion because they have the 3rd in the bass. So second inversion, there's going to be 2 more. An inversion just means technically it's the 1st, 3rd, and 5th note of the scale, 1, 3, and 5. So if the root's in the bass, as in the root is the 1, and if it's the lowest note that you're playing, it's known as root position, and we haven't gotten to that one yet. But if you take the root and then you put it up an octave, then it goes, instead of 1, 3, 5, it goes 3, 5, 1. So that's known as first inversion. Then if you do it again, so it goes 5, 1, 3, or this D shape up at the 7th fret, that's known as second inversion because now the 5th is in the bass, because you've root, first, second, and then if we jump up here, that'll be root. So let's go over those voicings. There's only 3 of them, but each group will combine 2 of the 3. Okay, so for instance, when we go up here at the 7th fret, you have the D shape, right? And then what you'll do is, relative to your first finger, if you go up a whole step, you're going to put your middle finger on that 3rd string, 9th fret, and then bar strings 1 and 2 on the 8th fret. That's back to this, right? Anyway. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of C chord. So when we go to our 2 chord, I totally lied to you. you can keep your ring finger down. You're going to go up a whole step, and then you're going to switch your first and second finger. So, your middle finger is on the first string. It's going to go over to the first string, 9th fret, and your first finger is going to go over to the 8th fret on the second string. Let me just make sure there's nothing that I should be looking out for. Sorry. I'll go back to that. Good. So that's the second option. So you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's interchangeable. If you had two guitar players, one could be playing this one while the other plays this one, and it all sounds great together. It's basically hearing all that like that. But if you guys had different tone, it would create a different tapestry. Or if you skip another inversion and you go to the next one, this is root position. It's basically part of that A shape. It's just the top end right there. This one right here it looks like a D, but it's kind of part of the C shape as well. But anyway, back to this one. You got the root position. First finger is going to stay stable on the first string. It's on the 10th fret. Middle finger is on the 3rd string, 12th fret, and ring finger is on the 12th fret of the 2nd string. And what I mean by first finger stable is that you're going to slide that. You're not going to take it off your first string. You're going to slide it up a whole step, and then you're going to rearrange your first and second finger so it looks like a little stairs. Again, this is just part of that minor chord. So you got your index finger on the 12th fret, middle finger on the 13th fret, and ring finger on the 14th fret. So these are the try inversions if you wanted to play this anywhere on the top 3 strings. So again, this one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Grand. So what we're going to do is we're going to play each one 4 times, but the track has 16 groups of 16. So if we only play each one 4 times, that's 12. So we'll go back to the first one on the last time, okay? But we'll play each one 4 times through. So again, just to review, first one you can it's index finger middle, and then you can go to your ring, or you can slide up and back and forth. Next one is the D shape going to the D minor shape. If you've ever played like a D minor chord. So it's like this versus that. There's major versus minor. And then finally you got root and first inversion. That'll do it. Let's go to the track. Here we go. Starting with root 4 times. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Second inversion, D shape. Going up to the first root position. to the first one. Okay, so I just want to make a point. My delay sounded like it was going to be a triplet thing, but against that, it kind of at that tempo, it kind of feels like a more of a slapback. So not exactly how I wanted it to sound against the track. Not the end of the world. I want to just mention really quick. We got some questions coming up, but I just want to mention really quick that all of that is just G to A minor. So like if you get really good at it, I'm just going to demo this really quick, and then I'll take that question. If you get really good at that, and maybe we'll play this again in a second, you can kind of jump all the way in between, like. And you might notice too that sometimes I do down up. So there's a down skank and then there's a down up skank, and it's nice to kind of mix those. Usually when it's dubbing out and it's really breaking down, it's just a down strum. But if the band's cooking, don't worry about it. You can throw that in there. We got some questions. How would you go about doing something like this between the first simple example and the second? Great. So I'm assuming you're talking about, well, so if you were bridging the gap between the basic progression, there's not just the whole notes there. There's not much you can do between that. Basically, that's just a skeleton compared to rhythm option number one. Yeah. Oh, the beginner option, the basic progression, and option number one. You can literally, so the whole note is just basically a placeholder, like I was saying. It's just like a skeleton. So what you can do is you can kind of you can add little strums. Really, you can try any different progression or strum pattern, I should say. So for instance, like what you could do is you could do like a dotted half, and this goes back to understanding what rhythm is. Understanding like what a dotted half note is, what a dotted quarter note is, all the rhythms. Being able to understand that. So for instance, you could go like a quarter note, or I'm sorry, I'm all over the place today. A dotted half, which is worth 3 beats, and then 4 ands. So like that would sound like this. So you could go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now I almost want to hear it quicker, so instead of just 4 and, you could do 16th notes at the very end, so it'd be like 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. But you can also go like just quarter notes. You could even, like, if you get good at, if you can palm mute with your right hand, you could totally do that too, like. There's a whole bunch of strum patterns. I would just say, just like write something out if you're familiar with rhythm and figure it out, or just explore it, see what you hear. Like you can go 1, it's not too cool, is it? So it's 1. You can't go crazy because, or even simple. Sometimes certain things will fit, sometimes they won't. You kind of have to read the jam. But that's a great question. Thank you. And you do you. I'm not exactly sure I understand what that statement is, Jason. But anytime somebody tells me to do me, you do you. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. Um, apparently, I don't know what a compliment is. It's, I'm sure it's better in context if I heard somebody say it to me. But, we live in a virtual world now. This is where we're at. I got another Jason's typing, so I just want to make sure it's a question or not a question before I move on to the next example. What we're moving on to next is the little riff that you hear in the background there. Question, what is a dotted eighth or a quarter note? Okay. This might not be the best place to, I can't share a screen and I don't have it printed out. So it is what it is. A quarter note looks like it's the black note. I would say Google rhythm values right now if you're near a computer and just look for the notes. But basically a quarter note is a black one with a stem and it's just worth one beat. So most music we're dealing with is in 4/4, right? So every time you're counting, that's a number going by. And each one of those is a quarter note. So if you were to play, you could fit 4 quarter notes in a measure, it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So that's a quarter note. Next division, I'll just go through them. A half note looks like a quarter note, but it's clear and it's worth 2 beats. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're holding it through 2 beats. Like I mentioned earlier, a dotted half is a 3 beats. So it's worth 3. Whole note, and it looks like a half with a dot next to it. Whole note is just a circle, looks like a whole half note without the stem. It's worth 4. Those are your basic divisions of a measure, and then you can divide a beat in half so if a quarter note is worth 1/4, an eighth note is worth 1/8 of a measure. So we call it an eighth note, and it's worth half of a beat. So I know this question is about dotted, but I just wanted to cover it, I guess. So you can put it, basically the moral of the story is you can put a dot next to any note and it multiplies that note times 1.5 times its value. So for instance, when we put the dot next to a half note, 1.5 times 2 is 3, okay? A quarter note is worth 1, so 1.5 times 1 is 1.5, so it's worth 1.5. So if you're counting, it would last into the second beat, and which means the next thing would have to happen on the and of 2 because you've only made it halfway through. So for instance, that would be like 1, 2, and 3, 4. So that would be a dotted quarter followed by just a single eighth note tied to a half note to finish off the rest of that measure. 1, 2, and. So you're playing on the offbeat because that's when it's happening. A dotted eighth note, again, an eighth note is worth half of a beat or 50% of that. So 1.4. What? 1.5, you didn't think you were doing math today, did you? 1.5 times an eighth note is 50%, turns into 75. So it's 3/4, right? Basically, that's it. Okay. So if you had a dotted eighth note, you'd have to finish that beat off with a 16th note. That's what's left. Good to go to lead section, thanks. Great, we're moving on. So this next part, the part that's on the recording, is essentially, it's right out of a major pentatonic scale, which is actually a minor pentatonic scale as well, but we're not going to go into that today, are we? Since it's over a G chord, you're basically playing an E minor pentatonic over it, but now it sounds happy like that. And that's all we're doing. So it's starting on the 5th fret of the 4th string. You're going to go down up on that note twice. And then you're going to go down on the 5th string, 5th fret. So you're just going to roll right over it. And then you're going to go 4 E and A. So it's going to go down up on 5, 7th fret with your ring finger. Up on that 5th fret again. So, and then you repeat it again. So it goes. So it's going to do that twice, and then it kind of alters for the A minor. So instead of going, it's going to go. So your index finger is going to still play that 5th fret on the 4th string. Then you're going to go to the 7th fret on the 5th string. So it still does that same thing on the end of 4. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's that part. Then comes the fast trickery. So you're going to start on that same note that you just left off on, the 7th fret of the 5th string. And you're going to play that, then you're going to play the 5th fret on the 4th string, and then you're going to hammer your ring finger to the 7th fret and then slide into the 7th fret, all with one motion. So you're only going to pick the 5th fret, technically. So again, hammer, ring to the 7th fret, slide into 9. So you got... And that's a triplet on the 16th note, 16th note triplet, I should say, on the and of 3. So you got... Just kidding. That's right on the downbeat of B3. So it's... And then you're just letting it hang there for the rest of the beat. And then you have 4 and... so you're coming right down that pentatonic scale there. Okay, so ring finger on the 7th fret of the 4th string, index finger on the 5th fret, ring finger, likewise. Same thing on the next string. 4th and 5th string are the same. So in total, that's going to go... So let's just go over that last part again, because that's really the only tricky part. I would recommend 2 downstrokes in a row, so like rest stroke. So a rest stroke is when your picks physically stop by the string below it. Essentially, you're doing that when you strum. You don't even think about it. Your pick just goes nice and relaxed through the strings, like Wheel of Fortune, you know. So that's what, you know, you don't really have to think about it. You just kind of strum through it. The 5th and the 4th string there. And again, the picking, if you are familiar with alternate picking, is just it's alternate picking. Okay, so your 16th notes are down, up, down, up. I just want to make sure my mic's good. We're good here. We're going to play along with the track for a couple minutes. And then we're coming short on time, so we'll just do that one time through, and then we'll go over the lead. If you have any questions, again, make sure you get them over to Jason. Hopefully you don't run out of time. Hope you're having fun. I'm having fun. I like reggae. You know, I'm a white boy, but it's fun. Here we go. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You notice I'm palm muting too, and screwing up when I talk. Ha, just kidding. Why? That's why. I just realized I was tapping my foot. I was hoping that doesn't screw up the shot. Amateur hour all night. And actually, it's better if I'm not that busy in between. Sometimes it's fun, but again, not too much. Everything in its right place, right? That'll do it. Okay, so that's like the lead part. You can kind of utilize that. So the idea of this course again is to kind of show you things you could do. But again, what I'm doing is I'm just taking a pentatonic scale and making a little melody out of it. I'm using major pentatonic over something like this because it's super happy and you want to keep happy. But you could just as easily throw in some blue notes in there if that's what you're feeling. Whatever suits you. But that's the idea. And I think I was going to say something else, but I don't quite remember. So that being said, as long as I don't have to answer to anybody, we are going to move on to the very last thing. So this track was taken out of, I did a course with Jamplay, or I guess it was just a bundle right before I left Colorado back in December or something like that. And it was called 20 Pentatonic Licks. And it was across genres, right? So there was like 10 tracks. This was one of those tracks. And so that means that if you are a Jamplay member, you can go back. I have 2 other licks that are over this. So there's more if you like this track and you like the licks and you happen to be a Jamplay member, you can check that out. But if you're not, that's okay, because I got a lick for you right here. This is a 4-bar phrase. Again, it's going to be kind of out of a pentatonic scale, but we're going to be using both major and minor pentatonic. That kind of just gives like a really great sound. A lot of the time, we're in G major, so you could definitely play. You can definitely play a G major scale over this whole thing, and it would sound good. Anyway, you could also play a Mixolydian scale, so instead of 1 sharp. Let's just demo the really quick, so major pentatonic will sound like this if you're just playing a major pentatonic. Won't get hung up on the tuning, but yeah, so that's a major pentatonic sound. But it doesn't necessarily, you go to that 2 chord and that's right there. So you could, again, you could play. Major sounds nice. Mixolydian, which has. That doesn't sound bad either. It's not too bad. But you can also do minor pentatonic, which everybody does, And so you can do that, but really what a lot of players do is mix that whole minor pentatonic with a major pentatonic. Throwing in country licks over reggae. Blasphemy. Anyway, so that's the idea. That's where we're pulling from. There's going to be like some Hendrixy double stop stuff going on. That's when you take the cage system, which is 3 notes in a chord, cage shape. But for those of you who don't know, a pentatonic is the chord, 3 notes plus 2 extra notes. So then you add those other notes around that chord shape and you're good to go. So let me just kind of go over that. And again, we're about to finish up here at 9:40. Again, thank you so much for hanging out. Hope you dig it. Next week, TBD. Surprise jam. No, actually, it's up on the website there. I just can't remember off the top of my head. Surprise to me, apparently. Anywho, so this one's going to start up here in this area right here. You're going to bar your first finger across the 10th fret on the 1st and 2nd string, and you're going to get a decent arch on your ring finger, because what you're going to want to do is leave that 10th fret on the 1st string ringing uninhibited. Alabaman Lakes Revisited. So it's kind of Alabama Lakes, it's like a Lake Street Dive / Alabama Shakes vibe. Also from the same, that might be from the same course. Anyway, just a very similar progression, actually. It's a 1 chord, 2 chord, 4 chord. So it's basically what we're doing now. There's different vibe and a 4 chord. Thanks, Jason. So you're going to bar your first finger across the 10th fret, and again, you're going to hammer your ring finger onto the 12th fret of the 2nd string, but leaving that 1st string ringing. Then you're going to take it off and you're going to play it again. So then your ring finger is going to land naturally on the 12th fret of the 3rd string, and you're going to do a slide. You're going to do a lot of sliding in this. You're going to slide down to the 9th fret and then back up and then back. So it's going to go. Then you're going to give it vibrato when you make it to the 12th fret. And then you're going to slide it back to the 9th fret. So it's going to go 1. Okay, one more time. Okay. Okay, next part. It's probably the trickiest part. You're going to start, it's all going to be with your index finger. You're going to start on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. And again, we're going to climb up a minor pentatonic. So it's going to go 6th fret, 8th fret, 13th, 11th fret, 13th fret, and 15th fret. Not gonna lie, some of these licks are inspiring faux Derek Truxian licks, kind of slide inspired kind of vibe. So that's the concept behind this one. So you're gonna go. It's all gonna be triplets starting on the and of the triplet first beat there. So you're gonna. And I like to scrape, so what I'm doing is I'm kind of like muting the strings as the pick kind of goes through, and then as it goes to the 2nd string, I apply the pressure on my 1st finger, and then the pick is stopped by the 1st string, so it's dead in its tracks. Okay? So you're going to slide up, and this can be really difficult if you've never done this before, just stopping dead in your tracks with different intervals, meaning like, okay, I gotta go 2 frets there, and now I'm going 3 frets, and then 2 frets, and then 2 frets. So, it takes a minute, but you can get there. So it's gonna go. So again, once you get up to the 11th fret, you're gonna slide back and then back up. And then you're gonna slide up to the 13th fret, and then back to the 11th fret, and back into the 13th. That's the first part of the phrase. Okay, so one more time. It's something like this can be difficult if you're doing it slow, because you can really run out of momentum. That note will kind of tend to mute after a second. Then once you make it to that 13th fret again twice, you're going to go back and you're going to go to the 11th fret and restrike that again. Do 2 whole steps, so 11, 13, 15. Then you're going to slide back to the 11th fret and then bend that slightly sharp into the major note, so up a half step. Then that's going to resolve on 12. So let's go over that again. So again, that last part. So the middle finger's going to grab the 12th fret, and then you're going to slide back to the 9th. We're almost out of time. I got to keep going. Do I have that right? Yeah, of course it's right. I wrote it. What? Anyway, so that's the first part. And then the last measure is pretty easy. It's basically that same exact thing in the beginning, but down a whole step. But instead of going to your ring finger on the 10th fret, you're going to go to your middle finger around that, because basically you're just kind of holding on this right here. Anyway, so hold on one second. I just want to make sure. So basically you're kind of likewise with this. So you kind of get creative with that. Anyway, in total, again, that last measure is going to go. So you're gonna hammer, play that, play the 9th fret, and then play that again. You're gonna do that 2 times in a row. That's it. Let me play a little slower. Okay, anyway, we're running out of time, so I'm just going to play along with the track, maybe for a couple minutes. Again, if you have any questions, happy to stay 2 extra seconds just to kind of make sure nobody's getting neglected out there. Thanks again so much for hanging out. Again, next Tuesday we got practicing fundamentals if you're a beginner. I don't even remember what that one's about either. I'm the worst. I should really have it all printed out, ready to go. Anyway, here we go. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, starting on the end. 1. I missed it, guys. I mean, it's almost 10 o'clock here. Give me a break. Here we go. I suck, guys. Here we go. Okay, fair shots, fair shots. Here we go, here we go. I think my strings are... That's what it's supposed to sound like right there. You know what? I'm gonna give it one more fair shot, but we're already out of time, so I don't want to waste your time anymore. Here we go. Time. Okay, I lied to you. That was the last time. So you get the idea. I'm sorry, I'm kind of messing up on you, but you know, you can basically, again, I'm just trying to show you of what you could do, but I'm pulling. Essentially what I'm doing is just playing triplets and kind of going back and forth between notes and the minor pentatonic. So even if you know the minor pentatonic up one string, you can kind of do that with any of the notes. It doesn't have to be exactly how I played it, which was exactly how I didn't play it sometimes. Any guys? There's no questions. And I'm done teaching. So thank you so much for hanging out. And I guess we'll see you next week on Thursday for this course for Alabama Lakes. And Practicing fundamental skills on Tuesday. Thanks. Did I just do the gun? Sorry. Close this out, Jason. We're done. We'll do it live.